Wondering for you, when did that passion start for you, and you kind of wanted to go into weather and meteorology?
You know what, for me it began when I was 6 years old, all right? Hurricane Gloria was coming up the coast. Now, Hurricane Gloria hit in 1985, all right? And I was living in Haverhill, Massachusetts, which is where I grew up, right on the New Hampshire border, all right? And it came through a lot of wind and a lot of rain. Washed our driveway out, brought down my dad's apple tree, split it in half. The loss of an apple tree. But what I remember is, at 6, I was sitting in that front window of the house, looking out the window, watching the trees bend, and watching them sway, then eventually watching some of them split and fall. And my mom would say, "Get out of the front window, it's a storm out there, come on, get inside." And I'd say, "Okay, Mom," and I'd sneak my way back over to that window again. But what I first realized then was the awesome power of nature, you know, and it was like, this is something that's bigger than us, that's stronger than us, and it would be amazing to learn more about. So years go by, right? And I love the weather, and I study up on it. And actually, my dad was a state trooper for 35 years, and he always had a police scanner in the house. So what I would do is I would take his police scanner, and I would go to different corners of the house and change the different frequencies to get the weather radio from the National Weather Service. And I would write down the observations for everywhere in New England, and I'd plot them on a map that I printed out on my little Tandy computer, all right? And then I would be able to draw my own cold fronts and warm fronts. I cut the weather maps out of the newspaper. I put them in a photo album, and I line them up one after the next, and I would close my eyes and try to imagine where the storm would go next. That's how I still make a forecast. No, I'm just kidding. That's what I did then.
It's like a Xiaomi.
Yeah, that's it. I just kind of felt it, you know. And so that was how I started out. And as time went on, I didn't want to be a meteorologist, though. I wanted to either be a state trooper like my dad, or I wanted to be a doctor. Those are the two things, because I said, oh, I want to help people, right? So fast forward to the end of high school, and I realized that we all help people.
Exactly.
I mean, we all help each other. That's what life is about. It doesn't really matter what you do. You can always help people. So I said, you know, my passion, my real love, my hobby always had been meteorology, weather. I said, why can't I get paid to do what I love every day?
And help people.
And that's what I do. Yeah, and help people, right? So I went to Cornell to study meteorology out there, and then got my first job while I was actually still in school, and then kind of the journey began, you know?
Calculating the ecosystem benefits of the trees, and so we're going to take measurements of the trees. First we have to identify them by species, and then we take a measurement, and that calculates the biomass of the trees, and from that we can figure out how much carbon dioxide is stored in each tree.
Can someone read this?
82 degrees.
All of these are.
The beginning of Earth was a giant molten rock covered in acres of magma. The fuel of the fires was caused by constant collisions of meteors slamming against the planet. As time moved on, these collisions slowly ceased and the Earth began to cool, and layers of crust upon the surface had been created. Soon after, water vapor began to condense, clouds began to rage, and storms flooded the lands, creating the seas. When did life on Earth first appear? Scientists estimate that the first signs of life on this planet were of primitive one-celled descent, and about 3 billion years ago. For the next billion years or so, these creatures were all that remained, until a new multicellular organism appeared, thus spreading a new, vast species of complex life within the oceans of the world, and upon that, gave way to some of those daring to evolve onto land. Jumping back to the discussion of global climate change, a key term to be recognized is the greenhouse gas effect. Let's talk a bit about weather. Weather is a combination of events that occur each day within the planet's atmosphere. This includes temperature, precipitation, and humidity. The weather is never constant, for example, our New England weather, and every day its events are recorded and further predicted by a meteorologist. Climate. Climate is the average weather pattern in a specific region. It is a controlled state of weather that's been recorded over the course of years. Climate, however, is changing. Due to constant studies of scientists around the world, the overall conclusion is that the Earth is warming and our global climate is at risk. People each year are starting to realize that Global climate change has been actually happening, and they're actually seeing a drastic change in the region's weather patterns.
You're
Since
wrong.
the start of the Industrial Revolution back in 1750, human activity has produced an increase of the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide. Emissions caused by humans such as carbon-based fuels, or simply wood, oil, and coal, have been concluded to increase of carbon dioxide. If the emissions produced by the current greenhouse gases continue like this, then the Earth's surface temperature will reach a temperature of almost 30 years into our future, potentially harming all biodiversities and ecosystems alike.